Hello and welcome to Dice on Ice. This is a free man's will, a Harbinger game set on a moon far from the known orbits of that is indicative of the setting of Harbinger. Instead, on this moon, it is a dry, desolate desert where Astra has become refined and perverted into some radioactive serum that causes nasty mutations and wild magic. Our players tonight are in this corner. Well, I guess point with one finger, not two. We have Megan, she can wave. We have Jeremy. We have Baron, and then we have Andala. Karen. I read the name tag by accident. And without further ado, if one of our players would like to recap the last session in a fluent affair, they may, for a point of inspiration. Elsewise, I get the point of inspiration.
I can't tell if Megan was pointing at me or if she was volunteering. I guess she was pointing at me. All right. Let's see. We were caught in a sandstorm. We came batted of hell-like out of the sandstorm. Me on my Harley, not Harley, made out of bone parts. And we rode into a small collection of rocks, if I'm not mistaken. And we lost Rost. And instead, we found these insectoid creatures that live out here. They're native to the planet, or the moon, if I'm not mistaken. And we ended up finally being able to communicate with them. And they had a larvae that was acting up. And we had to go wail on it. I don't think did we actually kill it?
You did. You finally slayed that giant thing at the end of last session.
Yeah. And it was a hell of a whooping that we all took. But we did end up finally doing what was asked of us. And I think we were going to hang out here for a little while before we headed to Malik. Is the name of it, I think?
Yes, it's Malik, the great city-state run by a Mancer king. And so, to clarify on that larvae, what the mantoids they had told you was that another one of their hives had been wiped out by the Templar forces of Malik, and left unattended, their many caverns of younglings would hatch and would not be groomed properly with the right hormone concoctions, and eventually one would rise to the top through natural selection as they ate each other and become a terrifying beast that transcended essentially the natural cycle of these beings. And this thing was a massive behemoth of a creature, several hundred feet long. It could fly. It had, laser powers, and it almost killed you guys. But thankfully, through some daring maneuvers from our Mancers and the consistent firepower of Node in the back, was able to take it down finally after many hundred of hit points of damage. And very few of these mantoids survived in this whole fight, as they had used themselves essentially as meat shields to protect you. And so we're starting the session tonight deep within the fabricated tunnels of the mantoid people, where they use their own their resin of saliva to form these reinforced tunnels that wind and snake like a labyrinth beneath the earth. We're sitting around a pool of tepid water that glows some weird blue fluorescent from the native bacteria in this place. And this place is essentially an oasis, a watering hole for many of the mantoid, and even you see some non-mantoids in here, some humans, 2 of them in fact, though they look derelict, and one of them is missing an arm, and the other one's dressed in rags and covered in bruises and scabs, and are essentially, they're both refugees in this place, hidden away, and fed some honey concoction by many of the mantoid servants that skitter around the place. You're joined not only by Pierce, the mantoid connection you've made, that he seemed to have known about your benefactor, the man who goes by Ronan Dex, his I wouldn't say co-worker, but definitely an ally, a peer of his in an earlier time. And joining you in this like dim blue light of these fungi and bacteria in this dank cave, along with Pierce, is another mantoid who goes by the pseudonym of Dune Ridge. And you may begin your role playing as you see this sight, and you've licked your wounds. You can hear a humdrum of, I guess, thoughts and ideas stirring around that sometimes they catch onto the frequency of your own brains. Though the ideas flung around by the many telepathic mantoids are alien to you, I'm able to kind of catch glimmers of what they mean, though it is a strange puzzle at best. Pierce is cleaning and maintaining his firearm, a technological marvel. It seems to be having been repurposed perhaps by Templar forces. With its, we can tell by the make of the muzzle and its other intricacies that it's definitely not of something that a mantoid would ever make, because it's made exclusively of metal. Pierce would look up to the three of you, and your minds would comprehend the idea of thank you.
It's never easy to have to deal with one of your own. Sorry that so many of you didn't, well, that you're not still here.
The words would form in your mind node, as Pierce is much more adept at communicating than many of the other mantoids you've encountered so far. We do not mourn the loss of our own, like you. Your words, as just a warning, mean nothing to me and my kin. No offense.
No, none taken. So, we're supposed to be taking this fight to Malik. Is that right?
Yes. We have many tunnels.
Well, even if you don't miss your numbers, then we might. How many of you can you gather together to help this fight that we're taking to the city?
We have hundreds.
That could work. He kind of looks to the other two.
We have thousands waiting to be hatched.
He looks over to Andala and Finn. What do you think?
Andala's looking around, and she's looking at all the mantoids that are left, and knowing what we just fought and how many died from that. And she looks back at Node. I'm not sure it'll be enough.
That may be the case. But I suppose we're going to do it anyways.
I suppose so.
That cube is important. Pierce would say collectively to the three of you.
Do we know what we're walking into? Their note? I mean, this was just a courier job when we took it.
Refresh my memory, Connor. We had made like a deal with these mantoids.
Yes, in exchange for them helping you gain access to the city-state of Malak, they first needed you to help them deal with their kid that was running amok, essentially. They had no ability to divert their forces in any way, shape, or form if, this giant sandworm was literally destroying things and attracting the attention of Templar.
And so our whole goal is to try to get this cube to, not Ronan, his son, Tobin. Is that right?
Sure. Yep,
so
Tobin.
that's all we want to do, is to try to get that in his hands.
Yep.
Okay. So Node shakes his head at Undala. No, we don't know much about what we're looking for at all. I don't, at least. Tobin, the name's all I got to go on.
Has Finn ever been? I would assume he's been to Malak.
Absolutely, yes. This is the most prominent nearby city-state of many in this world, and they're all at odds with each other. These noble houses ready to spill each other's blood over, anything.
And being like a former Templar, he would have spent a lot of time there, right?
Yes. Yes.
Does he know? So he knows kind of how dangerous it is to be there and not be an active Templar, or how is the city-state kind of set up?
You know it to be very totalitarian. If you've probably witnessed it firsthand, not the punishment received to people who don't belong, but the punishment you've probably doled out to those who do not fit. And you know that you've rounded up many would-be usurpers, would-be rebels, would-be splinter groups, any kind of anything really. You needed nothing more than a suspicion to be able to just round someone up and incur a life debt upon them.
So I have been to Malak many times. It's important that we don't draw any attention to ourselves.
Node kind of like leans away from Finn while looking back at him.
His bleeding face.
Yeah. It's, I can't imagine how we would possibly draw attention to ourselves. As he's like moving and there's like servo noises as like his joints are like shifting constantly.
Just don't be too loud about anything that you do.
Me be loud? Well, I never.
Will you be coming with us, Pierce?
Yes. And with me, my disciple, my trainee, my next in line. He makes an actual sound with his mandibles that would announce the name of this mantoid. Though, if you were to try to replicate it with your human tongues, you would just butcher it and get probably the whole hive on your case. And this would be your cue, Baron. That is your name, and he's referring to you, who you're probably next to him doing whatever you're doing.
For the most part, I've been just observing. I hadn't made direct contact with you guys yet before, but I probably had observed you in conversations prior to now as well. I just kind of curtly nod, not so much a bow or anything, just an acknowledgement. And similar to how the thoughts kind of coalesce in your mind into expressions and words, you get the inclination that this isn't Pierce, and Duneridge says, "Pleasure is mine. I will also be coming."
I know there's two voices.
Do you two have ways to... And he kind of gestures to your faces. Hide that. I've never seen one of you anywhere, but I think in Malik especially.
Connor, do we wear clothes?
No. You can have like things attached to your body.
No, that's just
but
a
nothing that would like nothing that would count to a human as clothes.
Okay. Do we have like stolen cloth or linen or some sort of, I don't want to say tapestry, but large?
The thing that you'd probably have more than any kind of stolen stuff like that would probably actually be some kind of fabricated resin-stranded weaved stuff that your weavers can
That makes sense.
in the hive. Because a certain subsect of mantoids are raised to have the ability, they're known as weavers, where they have some glands in their mouth that can produce a thick resin that essentially can act like as a silk or as like a durable material, and they just like make stuff out of it. And that's what your weapons are made out of. A lot of the structural supports to the hive are made out of, and any kind of like decent contraption.
Perhaps we could gather some sort of shroud or cloak, Pierce.
We can take them to Malik through our many tunnels. I fear that showing off our kind there would offer nothing but immediate retaliation.
I must admit, the idea of a disguise is foreign. Most of the time, I would just camouflage.
I can't imagine what they would do to you, knowing what they do to their own kind when you don't belong.
Probably spill their innards, see what makes them tick. That is the best case scenario.
There's one small point that I'd like to make. The deal was that you got us inside of Malik, not simply to it. I'm fine if you don't want to step out on the street and go to the bar or what have you, but
we have tunnels everywhere. This planet was once ours.
Ones that are inside the city?
Everywhere. And he shows you like a literal, like almost like a globe projection in your mind, where like the surface of the planet peels away, and you see just like the actual whole planet is like an ant hive colony, where it's just riddled with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of tunnels that make it one kind of connected hive. And then this concept kind of like leaves your mind for a moment.
Oh, well, all right then. When do we leave?
We were waiting for you. And like he's just like referring to the three of you. Seemed winded. I do not know how much a human can recover, or how quick.
Andala would look towards Node. I am all right now. I can go.
And Finn, it's hard to tell whether or not you're bleeding because you're wounded or if it's something else.
Finn would smile, showing his blood-covered teeth, and just a gush of blood comes out.
Oh, you look fine.
I'm doing much better, thank you.
All right, then. I suppose we're all ready. He kind of stretches, and there's more of this kind of like kind of noises as his joints extend mechanically.
And without even a noise, a dozen or so mantoid essentially like come to attention, like at around your camp that you've this makeshift thing that's been set up, and 6 of them would begin to head down a certain tunnel, and Pierce would do nothing but like gesture with the rifle that he is polishing to point to kind of like get you guys to follow along.
We would.
Yeah, I would follow.
Did we still have our rides or mounts? The leather bikes that we brought?
Yes, actually, the mantoids had like chaperoned them essentially, but just like they just collected them out when you left them behind. They kind of like swarmed over them, carried them back in, and yeah, you would have like access to them essentially.
We only have the 2 though, right? Because Finn smashed
one of them
his.
got totaled. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
because he smashed into a wall.
And so if you would request of the mantoid to like fetch your rides, they would just literally just carry them. Like 4 mantoids would just bring them on their backs.
Yeah, Node has no plans of leaving his behind. It's highly bespoke, and it's something he is kind of attached to. Not literally, obviously. And
at what point he was attached to it.
It's very, very likely at some point. There's probably parts of like his on the bike that he's replaced, like, and like when he replaced it, he just added it to the bike somewhere.
It's just a hand-me-down. A bike made of hand-me-downs.
That's probably the name of the bike, actually. Yeah. So yeah, he absolutely wants it. He probably won't ride it, or if he does, he'll just like idle real slow, just so that everyone else can keep up.
And even just like you thinking about the idea that you want your bike would be enough for like, as I said, 4 of these mantoids just have it on their backs, and just like bring it to you, place it down on the ground, probably upside down actually. They're not quite sure which way is up for it, but they kind of just like the 4 of them in unison just like look to you, and then one of them like just slaps the other one. They're just waiting, just standing there as they placed it on the ground upside down.
Yeah, he's like, no, please, would you pick it back up and just
they hold it up on end.
No, spin it, or no, the other way.
They rotate it.
Right. Oh, okay. Now just gently set it down there. Right there.
And then I'll just like let go and like bounces on the rear wheel.
No wonder this planet was easy to civilize.
What does your kind, how do you get across the sands? Is there anything that you ride?
No. We go by foot. When one of us falls, the others carry us.
That seems to be rather, slow, don't you think?
Perhaps. But you see, you have to travel over land. We go under. Is this not good for you?
Just curious is all. I am fascinated with your kind.
Some of us are grown with wings. Some of us not. Depends on our duty.
How peculiar.
All right then. So he kind of like fires up the engine on this leva bike. Are we ready to go, or are we gonna stand around and kiss each other, or what?
Would they have brought the other leva bike as well, if we had thought about it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not nearly as in...
Likewise, fashion would be not quite handled properly. Perhaps like there's like a thick honey smear that has happened on one side of it. That's just like sticky to the touch. You're not sure exactly what it is, but the best word for it is be like honey.
Perfect.
Kind of that weird like sweet smell to it.
I would turn to whoever in Mantoid is next to me and just think, they joke of kisses when kisses imply lips, which we do not have.
It is strange, these beings. What does a kiss even mean? Are they
Is
trying
there
to eat each other?
significance in the touches of lips?
I would never know.
Seems foolish.
Seems oddly messy. And so you ride your way, though your ride is essentially slowed by the mantoid in front of you. And you can only kind of go at a nice marching pace unless you just rush ahead of them. And this travel itself is, I mean, without stars in the skies to track, time, it's perhaps dozens of hours. And as alluded earlier, as you begin to grow weary, a mantoid from behind you would just pick you up and let your feet rest as they carry you. And likewise, when that mantoid gets tired, it is carried by another, and you can see the same thing happening all around as the tired ones get picked up and then they let rest, and ultimately these cycles of marching and carrying, so that movement can happen indefinitely. And finally, after a long, long walk beneath the earth, as your footsteps have echoed and upon this weird, soft resin that makes up this tunnel, or the growling of your Harley Corpsen bike, the sight of light is a strange thing that you see ahead. You see sunlight breaking through a small hole. Seems like a crack in the wall in this tunnel. Pierce would tell you that we're reaching the surface. And as you climb now, each footstep is harder than the last, but still you climb ever still. And ahead you see a great cave. A cave that overlooks the vast desert from stories high up, hundreds of feet. A sheer cliff would leave from this cave down to the desert that stretches onwards. And in this cave, you smell fire. You smell the searing meat of someone cooking. You hear the sounds of human speak. You hear the sounds of metal cling on metal and the doldrums of whispers and voices and conversations. And you'd see ahead of you 3 men, each garbed in long brown robes, talking to a strange tall figure that probably towers over them by 2 feet or more. That is likewise covered in long robes and wields with a metal hand a long metal staff as a walking stick. And this metal stick is adorned with various circuitries and other mechanisms on it. And within the hood of this tall figure glow an eerie blue light. you can hear a conversation happening between these four, but it stops at the approach of your league of Mantoid. All four of these figures turn in your direction. They see the Mantoid, and then they see you. 3 humans in their midst. And one of these cloaked figures, not the tall one, would step forward and lower its hood, and you see that this person is bald, and their skin is adorned with paint and grease marks, and in such a way to be some kind of like war paint or something. And he salutes Pierce, as Pierce is in the lead, but not salutes as in like the army terminology, just like just greets them with a long bow. And then the 2 other regular sized people follow suit with a bow shortly after. And then again, strange feelings stir the air as the Mantoid begin to flit amongst themselves telepathically. And Dune Ridge, you'd get all of it as just like a wave of confusion. Who are they? What are those? What's that? Why does it smell weird? What does that sound? These sensations of and kind of curiosity of your people kind of waving around. Then after a little bit of antennae waggling on Pierce's part and a back and forth that's quite a bit too muffled to hear, Pierce would introduce you 3 to this person. This is Azur of the Free Men. This is their overlook. This is a spot for us to gather our supplies, eat our food, eat your food, rather. We already brought our food, and whatever other things your kind needs. This will be the last stop before we reach the city-state of Malik. And you'd see from this overlook, you'd see the city-state in the distance. It is a great brass dome that just glints in the sky, with sunlight. Just this huge reflective dome that like blinds your eyes if you look at it with this great spotlight. It stands out on the sands as the sounds are kind of a tarry red with this great golden thing that's perhaps 100 miles off. But there's something odd. This tall figure, the light catches their hood in such a way where you see their face is not made of flesh. In fact, it's barely a face at all. Those 2 blue lights you saw for their eyes appear at irregular angles and shapes from each other in this way. It seems like just some piece of machine is their head, with 2 different glowing eyes. They're even offset, slightly one above the other. One's like pulled out a little farther as some kind of, thing sticking out. And it would say in a very robotic voice, "Greetings."
Node has taken a special kind of interest to this mechanical being, kind of studying, but from afar. He's kind of walked in, lowering his carbine and finding a place to kind of lower himself to the ground after this much walking. Even the spots where they carried us, I don't imagine we're very comfortable to actually rest, if we even slept at all. So he's going to find a place to sit down, kind of where he can put his back against the wall in this cave and lean his gun next to him. And he looks at this metallic being and he says, I don't mean to put too fine of a point on it, but Is there any part of you that is organic?
And this being would throw back their hood, revealing a perfectly non-organic head, just composed of bits of servo circuitry and whatnot. And again, the same like voice modulated voice would say, "That is a point of contention amongst my people." Turns to the three free men as they had introduced themselves and said, "We'll discuss this later." And he leaves or begins to leave, and the tapping of this metal staff would echo throughout this cavern as he heads away to some distant corner of this cave.
I just want to clarify something. Sorry, that the man we were introduced to, Azur, that was the metallic.
No, Azure is
Oh.
a man whose face is painted with blues and
Okay.
silvers and blacks. So much that you can't really see his skin at all, but you can see like facial hair and like he's bald, and he's kind of like studded with piercings, not in like a like a modern piercings, but more like a big lip and then the kind of more like tribal piercings. These piercings are made of metal. And likewise, his two other companions, Azure and these two others, also have the similar face paints and piercings, and otherwise same kind of getup as this main person. Though Azure, you can see his eyes are just orbs of green, though they do not glow. They just like have this like thick greenness to them, almost like a mucus that hangs in front of the eye.
Andala would look at Azur and then watch as that metallic figure walked away, and she would turn to him. What? What was that thing?
Dendrius, emissary of the Baromech. He has come to discuss things with our people. Things that you, and he kind of looks to Pierce specifically. Things that you shall soon see.
Have we heard of the Freemen before? Is this like an organization that we know of?
You know of them as they they are, yes, you know of them. They are by civilized folk, or at least by city folk, seen as these terrible barbarians that have shed their ways, they've lost their humanity, and they live as animals in the sands. They have they've lost themselves to the dangers of Astra, and live as just like these disgusting things out in the wastes. Others would know them as the only people who live freely in the world, who live without the tyrannical rule of a Mancer king. And you'd know that they exist in these fractured tribes, none united in any way, shape, or form, as they squabble with each other just as much as they squabble with the idea of there being Mancer kings on this planet.
And when he mentioned baromechs, does that mean anything to us?
That'd be a history roll for anyone that would pick up on that.
That would be an 18.
I only got a 6.
So on Dala, you'd recall a thing that happened many decades ago. Was known as the Baromek Rebellion, or the Baromek Revolution, or the day we lost our servants. Um, there was a great war that happened, as it almost seemed like in the blink of an eye, every Baromek that had ever existed, though at first they were just machine slaves, programmed with nothing more than simple things, with simple tasks to do. In the snap of a finger, all of them gained the intelligence and sapience of a person, and fought for their freedom through bloodshed and violence. And this caused a great outlaw um, among city states worldwide, or planet wide, or moon wide, I should say, that essentially outlawed robotics in their entirety, and again then they got replaced in the subsequent years as necrotech kind of came in as the next new hotness. And these baromechs that revolted, um, most of them got scrapped and slagged, and their parts were turned into molten metal and reshaped into their parts were melted down and just like uh, made into new stuff, um, as they were just recycled. But there was some of them who fled, who survived this whole ordeal, and left into the great expanse of the desert, and really were never heard of since.
So I think Ardala, hearing him say that this Dendrius is from an emissary of the Baromek, she would look back at Azur, and they're real. They're not just a story.
You'll find many things on this planet are more real than story.
And they have come. Why?
To parlay.
To parley with you, right? Not the people above.
He looks upwards. Or not even like gestures upwards. Who do you mean, people above? Just like not quite comprehending that.
I mean the people who live in those. People like him, and she points to Finn.
And he's just like visibly confused by this, but then kind of just puts it aside and said, "Yes, they've come to parley with us."
And it looks like you might also know our friend Pierce. Is that right?
I've heard of him, yes. Now I see him before my own eyes. And you're actually not quite sure if this guy's blind or not, by the way that he does not quite look at things. He doesn't quite look at people when he talks.
It happens when mucus hangs in front of your face.
Yes, that does. Yes.
Yeah. So the two of you have never met before.
No. I've heard of his deeds, of him, and of Ronan.
So you also know Ronan.
This is his place. Ronan's Overlook. As he makes a sweeping motion to the great kind of like cave opening that shows that this great scenery of this of the desertscape beyond, and you kind of the camera would like zoom out, and you see that there's this huge mountain, and in this mountain is like this cave opening, and you see many other cave openings along this mountain face. They're all bustling with activity of people, and there's these long, like, even hangers that go deep inside this mountain. And then it kind of like the camera zooms back into the conversation.
Seems like Ronan has a lot of friends, and he kind of like levels a look kind of at Ondala and Finn.
And a brother. He like thumps his chest at that.
You're
You are
Ronan's
his brother?
Yes.
Was Ronan a freeman as well?
Yes.
Where is Tobin, your nephew?
He works with our eyes and ears. There. And he points to the brass dome that is the city-state of Malik, off in the distance. Though we have not heard from him in several months. This is not unusual. Sometimes he's gone dark for months and even years before he resurfaces.
How do you usually get into touch with him? Get information from him? But the reason I ask, we need to get to Tobin.
Why?
He kind of looks again at the other two as if like almost looking for permission to even bring it up.
And Ondala's looking at him like, tell him already, tell him.
We have something that we're supposed to give to Tobin. That's what we're doing all the way out here.
Spit it out.
One of us has already died because of it. Who has the cube? I think Finn has it. Is that right?
Sure, Finn can have
It's
it.
kind of a weird, creepy thing. So I think it kind of belongs in Finn's wheelhouse.
Fits Finn.
So yeah, Node will kind of gesture towards Finn.
Finn takes it out. Apologize, there's a little bit of blood on it. As he gives it over to Azure.
And Azure makes quite a shocked face as you pull it out. A face that like shows recognition, but also like a great gravity to the thing you just did. Like, okay. And he kind of barks, "Give me that." But not in a way to like, it's mine, but like, I want to see that kind of way.
Well, now Finn is not going to get like, he was handing it over, but as soon as he like barks at him, he just kind of retracts his hand for a moment and looks towards Node and Ondala.
Yeah, Node's hand has already started going towards his carbine.
And likewise, the two free men that are behind Azure step up and they wield these like silver blades made of this weird, almost like perfectly sheened like short blades. It's kind of like step up, also drawing them against you.
I think Ondala would actually go in the middle between everybody and be like, no, we were tasked by Ronan to give this to Tobin himself. And that is what we will do. And you will not stop us.
I merely wish to see it.
What is it?
Look at it. You don't need to touch it.
For that, you're mistaken. And he holds out his hand again, just one more time, for you to place it in his palm.
I think Finn's going to, can you do an insight check just to see just to see if he can find intent in Azur at all.
Okay. Go ahead and roll an insight.
Okay. Oh boy, can I use the domain dice? Oh, wow, actually, never mind. So that is going to be a 14.
You know that the cube seems to be very important to Azur. And the way that his soldiers drew their blades means that he's willing to kill over this thing.
Yeah.
He seems to be a bit suspicious of you guys.
I think he's looking more if he has if he has darker intentions after he gets it.
Yeah, you can't tell that.
Okay.
You just know that it's very important to him.
I think Finn would hand it over, just eyeing him.
And as Azur takes it, he kind of looks at it. He holds it very gingerly, almost like with only 2 fingers. He kind of holds it up to the light, and he twists it in the light. And the light catches on its black surfaces. And then takes another hand and twists one of the sides of it, and it makes a clicking noise. And then he twists it back. It makes another clicking noise. A smile would creep on his face, and he'd pass it back to your hand, Finn. And then his soldiers would step to the side, each one, parting the way down this tunnel. And he also steps aside with a grand sweeping motion. Welcome to Ronin's Overlook.
Can I have the cube back?
A friend of Ronin's is a friend of mine.
Can I have the cube back?
And he gave it to you. Or
Oh,
at least
okay.
was trying to give it to you, yeah.
He's gonna take it right away.
As the guards stand down, Ronan will also lower his carbine, slowly and hesitantly. Then whenever he's gestured to welcome us to this, he kind of looks around at the mantoids and the other 2 that he came with. Well, if we're going to find help getting to Tobin, I think it's got to be with these people.
Pierce would respond as well to this. These people are very distrusting. They would as easily cut the head from my torso as to help me. But it is only because of their own history. They know they can only trust their own hands and their own people. I'd be wary with these folk. Though we know that some are exemplary, and the image of Ronin would appear in your minds. And this time with a bit more definition, details of him that you don't actually remember. And you can see that he also has a kind of a subtle greenness to his eyes, that perhaps in your dealings with him you thought they were just green, green eyes, but in fact even the whites of his eyes are a bit green, tinged with green. And likewise, he did, after seeing Azur, you'd see the same freckles and the same shape of the nose. I suggest you get the things you need, as this will be our last stop before we head there.
Maybe we should stick together.
Yes. That seems wise.
Is there anything that any of you are looking for? to make this last bit of the journey here.
Pierce would interrupt you guys and say, I have things I must attend to here. I will return same time tomorrow. And like just, I don't know, makes a spot in the dirt to literally this spot. And then he just shuffles off. And he tells you, Doonridge, that you're to stay with these three, to keep an eye on them. Literally. As he shuffles off. And all 17 mantoids that came with you follow Pierce en suit in just a single file line that just snake off into some other branchway of this great cavern complex.
I have been instructed to gaze upon you with my eyes for the duration of your wait. But if you don't mind, I do have a question. The ways of humans are quite troubling. Why is it that you cannot speak plainly and with true intent? Are you hiding things? What is trust when there is mutual benefit and gain for the colony?
For somebody who doesn't speak, you sure do talk a lot.
There are those who will always want to get ahead of another. It is hard to trust and distinguish between those who would not do this and those who would.
Because it is easy for our kind to hide our thoughts. There are some who do. And then they will do the opposite of what they actually think. Or what they actually say.
Does that make you more primitive to hide communication through these means?
More primitive? Than what?
Your conflicts arise from miscommunications, hidden intents.
Greed.
It's one of yours that we just had to put down when it was causing all kinds of havoc and chaos for your people.
This
that
is
was
true.
A pretty big problem. It had nothing to do with communication.
And it was solved through clear intent and communication.
Not communication. Violence.
It was solved through a good old-fashioned ass whooping.
The colony going dark in that sector was... And he'll just kind of retreat. Not from necessarily position, but from your heads in self-recollection.
When you have people who... The difference in us is that we can change. And he's looking more at Undala than at Doonridge. People can change when their intents are hidden and when they're not as out front with everything. Their ideas, their minds can change. They can be swayed towards different thinking.
I will think on these concepts. Thank you.
And I think as you're saying that, Andala's looking at you until it becomes kind of uncomfortable as you're trying to say things that she doesn't want to hear from you right now. And she looks away and down to the ground.
He would keep looking just because he's being genuine doesn't mean he's not weird. So he would, Node and Doonridge, you would see that he would still continue, and long after he speaks, of just like looking and just kind of tilting his head at Undala.
So as you guys are kind of looking at each other, I'm also kind of like looking back and forth between you. Like, I have no idea what is going on between you since I've retreated from this thought bubble here, but I'm kind of just like, I am unashamedly staring at you to like see what you look like. Like, okay, the position of the audio intake canals are positioned here. Oh, okay, and just like examining you, I'm fascinated.
Node looks at the mantoid beside him, and he says, "You can choose whether or not you are sharing information or trying to talk with who you're around, right?
To an extent.
Because whenever we go out there and we get inside of that city, if you have a trouble with lying, that's going to become a real problem."
As you had mentioned before, the mere sight of me would be enough to force my extermination. My people have survived well and long enough through means of secrecy and covert. Whatever. I don't believe that'll be a problem, no.
Good. It's going to be tricky enough trying to pull this off as it is.
Perhaps.
All right. Well, I suppose we better go find out what they've got.
And you see that Azura and one of the freemen have long left this scene, but one of the guards has remained put. This seems to be his station, just kind of overlooking this entrance. Though he is definitely much more casual than he was before, as he leans against the wall, and he's lit a smoke, and he's smoking it. And so the layout of this place is a bunch of, I guess, layered levels that have these kind of like winding tunnels that lead between them and through them. Some places in this hollow are residential. Some is like a huge marketplace. Some deal with the arms and armor and other armistice. There's even like a hangar for ingoing and outgoing flying vehicles, and essentially it's just like almost like a pirate town set in like a sci-fi world. So go at her.
Yeah, I think Astra's a smart idea. That's probably one of the things that we need to check into. I guess we need to sell off whatever it is that we've got, the salvage scraps that we have. Are we going to hold on to that Lorium file? The one that I think technically Chaz's character found?
Yeah, if we don't need to turn that in, then we should probably keep that for now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To use the other salvage, yeah.
You'd know, or at least get an inkling, that it'd probably be worth about 500 glint. That little small vial. I know that it's listed in the rules doc as 5 glint, and I'm like, nah. If they don't exist, it's 500.
Makes sense. It's a lot rarer. And you said there was about 2,400?
You got 2,400 in various Old Dominion tech scrap that you would be able to pawn off to the right buyers.
I guess
and
that's what
definitely the right buyers here.
Okay. So I guess that's probably what we would do first, is try to sell stuff off, and then we'll go looking for tidbits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd be led essentially by interacting with passerbys to a grease monkey of a man who is covered head to toe in these thick clothings, covered in just grease smears and even like not acid burns, but like acid, I guess acid burns on his clothing. There's like mottling and like staining. And he's got these thick onset goggles that just cover his eyes in black, and he's like with this welding torch that spits out just blue flame and has this huge nozzle attached to this tank on his back. He's just sparks are flying as he's affixing some hunk of metal to another hunk of metal, building something. And you can see just like he lives here in essentially a junkyard of stuff, and he's got this little shack set up, kind of set into the cave itself.
When you want to do the talking?
We have some things we would like to sell you. He kind of like pokes him, like just taps him on the shoulder.
The guy welding?
Yeah.
Hey, what's that, Sonny? As he's like, you startle this man. His welding torch goes flying. He jumps. He starts. A small fire breaks out because of this torch thing happening on the ground, and like, he's like, ah! Kind of like makes a squeal sound and goes over and like just stomps on it. And you realize his boots are just made of metal. And he's just like obliterating this whatever it is as the grease has caught fire and just stamping it out.
While he's stamping it out, Finn would, we have some things that we would like to sell you.
You have to speak up. And at this point, you realize it's not just his boots are made of metal, but his feet and his legs too. As he like, you hear the servo as he kind of walks up towards you, and he walks in a terrible way. You realize maybe one of his legs is longer than the other one, as he kind of just brings you over to just this kind of table area. What you got?
Node will just start like piling up the pieces that they've gathered kind of onto this table, making sure that it's separate from all the rest of his stuff. Kind of once it's all laid out, he's going to gesture to it. A lot of this was rather hard to come by. We actually lost one of ours getting to most of it.
Where did you say again from? I didn't see none of them around these parts.
Well, we found this deep in the desert. Buried.
Huh? Where is it even in here?
Is he speaking the same language that I am? He kind of looks at Finn and Undala.
Are you going to buy this stuff or not?
Kind of just deep breath in. Yeah. I use it. This right here is something fun.
How much?
He just slams down on the table the equivalent of 2,400 glint. I don't quite know what that would look like here. Perhaps it's... I imagine actually they're like these long magnetic like kind of clips. They can you can kind of tack on things to the end of them, and there's these rows of like 2,000, 2,000, and then 400, just like boom, right on the table.
Much thanks.
Off you go. I got stuff to do. Yeah. As he just like shoves this pile of glint, or I guess these rods of glint, over to you, and starts like picking up these large heaps and.
Can I look around and see if there's any necrotech in here?
Oh yeah, yeah, you can see some, absolutely. It's like there's just you see just this hand sticking out of the scrap heap, and it has just a strange energy to it, and even like it even twitches every now and then. That would suggest it being somewhat alive in the necrotech kind of way.
I might be back to see you later.
Hey?
Yeah, exactly.
For a waiter.
He'll just kind
And
of
as quick as you guys leave, it just like gets back to like with this,
just kind of waves this
well,
off. So I guess we'll go someplace where maybe like some kind of eatery, like a place where you would sit down and get a bite to eat. And so we have like a surface that we can maybe dole these things out on, split it up amongst ourselves. Plus, I imagine it's probably been a little while since we've had like food that was prepared over like a fire.
yeah. Fresh eating. Get your fresh eating here. Sound of a cleaver striking. Come get your eating chops. Buy two, get two.
Node is definitely going to have like the equivalent of a steak.
Do you have any roots or vegetables?
Them's hard to come by around here. But yeah.
I'll have some of that.
Do you want a stew or something?
Does it have any of that in it? And he's gonna gesture to the Anin.
You want some of that in it?
No, thank you.
Suit yourself. And shoves a nice warm bowl of vegetable soup, essentially. Though the potatoes are small and flavorless, the these root vegetables are small and flavorless, and some other sprigs of things that definitely were not grown here, and have been kind of shipped, and maybe they were even dried, and then now they're rehydrated, sitting in this pile of. It's very thick, this soup, because water is scarce, and they kind of used a lot of potatoes essentially to make it worthwhile, and kind of just like.
He would have that.
And it's flavorless, but it still goes down easy. And Node, you get your nice cut of Anine flank.
Yeah, and he likes it like raw.
You like getting the middle flank instead of like the the rear flank, because Anines have 6 legs. The middle one's tender.
Then that's absolutely what he gets. And he likes it raw, so it looks like Finn's face.
It's just this bloody piece of meat with even a bone right in the center, just slides on a plate.
Andal is also having a steak, but a little bit less like Finn and more cooked.
And this guy would like pull up some of this Anine that's been like drying and spiced for quite a while. That's probably what you get, is like this dried, like almost like jerky Anine, like a kind of like almost like donair meat in a sense, just like cutting off these strips.
Yeah, that sounds much better.
You got this place to yourself, but there's like a huge bustle of people. You're like, it's like sitting down at like a food court of a really, really, really busy mall. There's so many people packed in through here. You get nudged every now and then. You spill your soup a little bit, or your utensil gets kind of knocked sideways.
Do they have anything to drink here?
They got
like
alcohol.
Aside from just yeah. Cool. So yeah, whatever the equivalent of like a, maybe some kind of exotic or expensive brew. I mean, they're sitting here with probably more glint than Node has had in a long time, if not ever.
The most exotic brew that you probably could buy at this point would be a nice tall glass of water. Crisp, clean, pure. Distilled 3 times in a thrice purification process, just to get rid of any like lingering urine or sweat that's from it.
That's definitely what he has. when there's maybe like a little bit of a lull in the traffic, maybe that's when we like divvy up the glint, just so it's not quite so publicized.
How much glint do we have by the time we kind of... I think also Finn would go to Dune Ridge. He's just been kind of looking at them. Would you care for anything to eat? What does your kind eat?
Connor, what does my kind eat?
Your kind, mass produce. You have a certain kind of mantoid that's genetically engineered to produce essentially a thick,
Like a protein
sugary
filled
honey. Yeah, this like protein honey that they just. There's no delicacies. There's no enjoyment of food for your people. It's just like, no, we just eat honey.
I would have explained that to you.
We have soup. And he would kind of offer his bowl to Dune Ridge to try.
I think I would like look at you, and you could see like my mandibles here, and like the overall like lack of lips and cheeks, and it's just kind of like a row of teeth, kind of almost like a skull, and it's like, I can't soup.
You could lay down and I could pour it down your mouth.
From my gathered knowledge of the communal eating habits of humans, I don't think that would be acceptable.
Do it yourself.
Thank you.
And he's gonna go back to eating his soup.
I would like lean over to Andala. Thank you is the correct expression. Correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Humans say thank you so often.
And sometimes we actually mean it.
Incredible.
Okay, so God, should we give any to Dune Ridge? I mean, no. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to, I suppose. So then it comes up to 800 apiece.
Yeah, what's the going rate on an Astra dose?
50 glint per dose. Which is more expensive than his delicacy of water.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is it 50 glint a dose, you gotta find the right kind of buyer or supplier for it, because it's definitely illegal. Though probably here it's not illegal. There's no one gonna crack down on you for possessing Astra. You might get it's stolen if you openly carry it. You might have pickpockets stealing it because of its just inherent worth.
Are there any forms of healing? There's healing stuff too, right?
Yeah, there's that the essentially the stim pack. Node had used one on somebody, I can't remember, in some comic.
It's called a mender.
That would have been me.
A mender?
Yeah.
How much are
Yeah,
those?
Mender in the book, they cost a mender costs 150 glint.
Okay.
And menders let you spend hit dice out of right then and there.
And they have 3 charges for that 150. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I have a mender that has 1 charge left, can I just pay 100 and get the other 2 charges refilled?
Refilled.
Okay,
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can even buy 1 charge left or 2 charge left menders if you want. So you can just I guess $50 or 50 glint per charge if you want to do it that way. Because you definitely could find a person that says, yeah, this one's 2/3 used. I picked it off of off of Battlegrounds.
Well, I feel really
I
bad
ripped it out of the poor sod's corpse.
because you used the mender on me, and I have a full charged mender, so that I think it should come out of my pay and you instead of yours.
So Finn wants to get 2 full menders, and the rest Astra pack things.
Ooh, it's gonna be a fun encounter to buy the Astra. Yes, you can do the math to do all that.
That's 10. I want 10.
That'll be 500 glint then for the Astra and 300 for the Menders, which adds up to 800. There you go. -1 for your potato soup.
I assume maybe I found yeah.
I think you start off with some glint anyways.
Yeah, can I just I just didn't want it to be odd if that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what Finn is going to want.
So Andala is going to be looking for a shield projector and Astra.
You'll be able to find both after finding essentially the quartermaster of this place. Though quartermaster implies that there's like some kind of rationing to it, there's not. It's just like it maybe at one point served as like a quartermastery, but now it's just a straight up shop for buying arms and armaments. You can get that shield projector for its listed cost. In Astra, likewise, you'll be able to get them, which will RP with the same scene as Finn.
Okay, I'm not looking for nearly as much as Finn. I don't use it as often as he does, but I think she'd probably try to get 5 doses. So that's what, 250?
Yep.
Yeah. So I have glint left over if Node is requiring it. Unless you let me pay for the mender. Did you let me pay for the mender?
I figured we could go halvesies on it.
Okay.
So you take 50, I take 50.
Okay. Yeah, I have 160 left of the 800. So if you go over and need some more.
Okay. As of now, I've got 700 left. So, I want to upgrade my armor. And if it's okay with you, if it's okay with you, I'd like to reskin it as like going back to see that guy and having like upgrades done to my necrotech parts.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And concerning the hand too, that was like twitching in the scrapyard. He'd also like maybe if you were to like, hey, well, how much is that? Oh, that's something funny that little gizmo there. Ripped it off of Templar myself. It's got a mighty grip, that one. Essentially, it is a necrotech arm that would boost your strength score to 19.
Boost.
It would boost it up to a straight 19, but it costs 700 glint.
Ooh. I'll have to come back for that. Otherwise,
upgrading your armor would just like cost the difference in the armor prices.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, so it'll cost me 200. I am going from Beigel hide armor to Ironbone armor.
Sweet.
Okay. I'll have to change all that out in just a second. I also will be getting Astra, although I think they're 50 apiece.
Yep.
Probably 4 of them. Which would be 200. So I might also get a look for a mod for my carbine. Let's see. was one that I was looking at. Think maybe the high cap loader. It's one that like doubles your clip size essentially.
Yep, and you can get it for the listed price.
Excellent. So then I think that, and then the glint or the Astra, that'd be good.
I think Finn would actually make the case, unless we all have it already, of like each of us having a whisper link.
You already start off with one.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I have one.
I believe it's in your basic gear pack that you get for being a person.
Ooh, well, that's
yes.
Congratulations on being born. Here's a gear pack.
In that gear kit as well, you get 25 glint. I don't know if you want to add that to your, if you already tracked that. As a starting character, you get 25 glint. So you buy your stuff, and then you get directed for this Astra, not to some shady dealer, but you get directed to Azure himself. For the vaults of Astra are heavily guarded, not only from without, being the people that might try to, infiltrate this place, but from within, for who knows whose eyes are where. And so you'd march, you'd walk up a long set of stairs reinforced with metal on this weird mantoid resin to a great kind of vaulted chamber where you see Azure, and he sits on a throne, but the throne is not majestic. It is a simple throne. And there's a view of the outside, as a kind of a cave opening is here, where you can see the great beyond that is outside the overlook. And there's perhaps 12 more freemen guard that just stand put in this place. And you can see Dendrius the Baromech is continuing to have a council with Azure, and they're in the midst of a conversation. You've gleaned from kind of talking around and gathering information that Astra is rationed out here, rather than bought or purchased or sold by any individual supplier.
We would like to procure some Astra from you.
Your voice causes both of these people, both Azure and Dendrius, to just stop in silence as you've interrupted their conversation. Dendrius turns, and you can hear the servos whirring as the head, this mechanical head, turn in your direction. And likewise, does Azure kind of lean in towards you. You've interrupted this audience. For what?
Astra?
Kind of like placing a hand to his ear.
Astra, if you please.
Excuse me. And he looks up to Dendrius. So he gets up. He walks to a side chamber, and he pulls from his hip a great set of keys. The keys themselves aren't like metal keys; they're probably like weird, like multi-pronged things. How much?
10 for me. And if Andala and Node are with him, he would look to them.
5 for me.
4 for Node.
19 doses.
Yes.
That is a great deal of Astra for 3 people.
I have a great deal of glint for that much Astra.
And we have a very important mission that requires us to make sure we are well prepared.
And with that, he nods, inserts this multi-pronged thing key into the doorway in the side of this chamber, and it hums and clicks, and he turns it, and then this thick door opens, and he steps inside, and the door closes behind him, leaving you in the silence now that he's left you. Dendrius, the Baromech, has his hands folded behind himself, behind his back. He no longer has his metal staff with him, and he's just looking at you as if just looking over the 4 of you, not saying a word.
Andala would look at him, and I am sorry we interrupted your audience with Azur. We mean no disrespect. Our time is just short.
No offenses with me, though I would be best to advise you to be a bit more courteous in the presence of the free king.
Your words are wise. And with that, Andala is actually looking at Finn pointedly.
Finn looks like he has no reaction to this news that he is the king. He just kind of blinks. Where are you from?
As he hears this, Dendrius, with his arms still folded behind his back, begins to descend like the few stairs. Somewhat of an oxymoron, isn't it? The free king. Where I am from, we have no kings. Yet we still are free. We make a point of ourselves to not have kings.
Though interesting, I'm afraid that did not answer my question.
I cannot reveal to you our whereabouts, for that would be treason on the highest accord.
But
He just bows to you.
But who do you answer to for treason if you do not have a king?
You can simply drop a letter from the end of king to find the real ruler of us. Kin.
So, like your brother or a father?
Perhaps you can phrase it in such a way, though us Baromech do not have fathers nor children.
You used to,
We
didn't
cannot
you?
sire infants like you.
Is it true that you once were like us? Or some part of you? A soul, if you will?
You ask it as if it were no longer the case.
Didn't you just say that it was no longer the case?
What do you know of us, human?
Not very much. That is why I am asking questions.
I see. Ah, there he is. And the latch to the heavy door begins to turn again as Azur, and he holds a bundle. And in this bundle you can hear the sound of clanging glass And the door slams shut behind him, and he pulls the key back from its slot and shifts it and hides it beneath his flowing robes. He holds out. He points a finger to one of the servants that are hanging in this area. They're Glint. And this servant is holding a bowl.
Finn would put his 500 in.
Andala would follow with 250.
And Node would drop his 200 in the bowl as well. Although he looks at this like gathered like pile, this bowl full of money, and he kind of shakes his head and turns away as he's dropping his, kind of almost like he doesn't want to watch as he does it.
Thank you for supporting the free men.
Mm-hmm.
We really had no choice, did we? It was not support, but obligation, wouldn't you say?
Your purchase here of our Astra. We will use this glint to further our own goals, and thank you for this.
Andala would turn to him and was like, well, I support your goals. And then she would turn and walk away.
And just in silence, Azure holds this bag of glint. Not glint, bag of Astra out to the nearest person. Perhaps it would be Finn to grab it. And inside you can definitely see the 19 vials of Astra, though they are reinforced with this thick glass, and in these thick cases of glass are encased again in these huge kind of like boxes of metal with only like a transparent little window so you can actually see its contents. This shielding of it is to protect the decay both of the Astra and of anyone wielding the Astra.
Many thanks.
So, about getting in touch with Tobin. Is there anything that you can offer us on how we can arrange that?
There is a way, as this overlook has its many ins and outs, many tunnels that wind from and to it. There are many paths that lead from here to the underbelly of Malik itself, hidden through secrecy. I know not of where Torben lies, where he is set up in his espionage. But he's never left the city.
Does he have a home that he usually stays in, even if it's a sham?
Even if we were to know it, it would perhaps jeopardize his cover. I can show you the control room, where we can communicate with him sparingly. Though that has not been the case of late.
Those coordinates that we were given when we listened to the log, was that like a pinpointed location, or was it more of a general?
It was pretty specific, probably like give or take a few 100 meters in like estimate. So it would give you like the estimated like location in the city of Malik, but not like knowing which street corner or not it's in. But you know like which district or which sector.
Well,
the city it's in.
That's at least a start, I would think. Do we know if like would we be able to do that with our own glancers, or would we have to use their control room to get this kind of detailed information?
You could pull it up in your glancer.
Okay, then I'm not going to do it here, but
I think at least going to the control room to see if there's anything information-wise that we might be able to glean would be a good idea. Just something that would help us possibly narrow down, so we don't have to tear apart even an entire district of a city.
And you're led to a kind of cramped room where electronics just wall this room, and in its center is a table, and on this table itself is a projection of the city of Malik. It's this hologram of this amber color that's projected from a small device at this table's center, and it can spin and move with hand gestures, zoom in and zoom out, as they have gathered a lot of recon over the area and assembled this picture through dozens of espionage and intel. And as we look upon this control room, this intelligence room, we can go ahead and take a bio break. We can just go ahead and fill our drinks up, get us some snacks, visit the wash room. We'll be back in about 5 or so minutes. See you soon. And we're back. As you step into this control room, you can see this apparatus that projects the city of Malik on a hologram. So as you step into this room, immediate buzzers and red lights begin to flash. Bzz, 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 bzz. As an alarm goes off, and you see various points of red appearing on other screens of machinery. As you see what seems to be unknown entities closing in. As you can see like even see like a radar blip happening around the overlook as some things are advancing closer and closer. There's even a siren that's happening outside of this room. Smoke begins to fill the sky that is seen out in the great cave overlook. All of a sudden, the sound of thunder is heard. Though this thunder is a sound where you can see ripples in a force field happening, just meters from the exit of this great cave hole, as boom, 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 something is impacting this place. There's the sound of a large crash, a large explosion that happens somewhere literally beneath you guys as it echoes its way up through the many tunnels. And then you see it. It swoops upwards. It seems to be some kind of aerial craft that's able to fly quite swiftly as it shoots behind this jet stream of this roaring fire as it comes down in for another strike. There's screams and shouts and gunfire that happen in the halls as the place seems to be under attack. One of the Freemen guards from the large antechamber rushes in and just yells, "Azur, Lord, they found us!" And immediately, Azur looks around him, seeing just the number of blips and enemies that are on his, radar screens. As one of the main hologram begins to falter a bit, coming in and out as it's losing its power source. We must move, Azur says, as he then orders this whole place to be destroyed. Get out!
Yeah, No doesn't have to be told twice. He's got his stuff and he's headed for the door. Kind of just outside this room that they've kind of been shooed out of, he'll turn and look at the other two and the mantoid who's with them. It may be a good time for us to go. Maybe now is when we head to Malik.
I agree. We should go.
Would Pierce be within telepathic range of me?
No, unfortunately. You as a lone mantid have no amplifier with you. Like as mantoids are in clusters, they can amplify each other's signals. In your lonesome, your telepathy only goes about 60 feet, and you do not get a sense of Pierce nearby.
But you know the right tunnel to take, right? Dune Ridge?
Yes.
And so as you leave that smaller chamber, the few freemen that joined you, along with Azur, come out of the place, and they slam that door shut, and there's a loud explosion that happens on the other side of the door, and the door just like shutters out, but keeps intact. But then there's like this smell of smoke begins to kind of waft out from the bottom of this door, and this whole antechamber kind of shakes with this explosion. The gunfire shots grow louder and louder, the screams louder and louder, the yells louder and louder, as whether they're increasing in amplitude or if they're literally coming towards you, can't quite tell. There's only one way out of this antechamber, and it heads down that snaking way back to the main level with the market. I guess technically there's the cave entrance that, you know, if you look down at, you'd see 100 feet of drop and then 100 feet more of cliff if you were to try to leap from it. It seems we may have lost Jeremy. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zoom dropped me for some reason.
It's a
Can you guys hear
robot.
me?
It's a
Oh
robot.
no, very little. It's
Very
You're kind of
robot-y.
roboty.
As he should be. I mean, he is Node.
he is Node.
I don't know if you can hear me any better or not now.
No.
Testing.
Mm-mm.
It's pretty poor.
There's obviously an EMP blast.
Yeah.
It's affecting those cognitive recessors. That face.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a little more.
Yeah, you're getting a bit more animated now, so that might be a good sign.
Okay. What about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you good. Your
Okay.
video's a bit laggy. That's fine.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on.
Oh,
Now
there
since
we
you're
go.
caught up. Yeah, now you're smooth as butter.
Yay. Sorry about
All
that.
right, no worries. Happens to the best of us.
Okay, I'm sorry. I something about 150-foot drop. That's
Yeah, I was seriously distracted for a moment.
Yeah, so I was just describing the fact that there are technically 2 exits to this large palace room. I guess, well, 3. There was the Astra chamber. There was the room that just got exploded. There was the long stairway that you guys took. And then there is the giant hole, the cave end exit, that is the overlook that would probably have like a few 100-foot drop if you wanted to leap off of it as a viable exit. I was kind of just describing the layout of this room for you guys. But you know the sounds of like stomps and footsteps and screams and gunfire and yells are all growing louder, suggesting that they are approaching.
approaching from the outside overlook, or
Coming
are they
f-
approaching from the stairs?
Coming from the stairs.
Oh, so we're like surrounded. Is really what you're saying.
So maybe
Pinned
we
in, yes.
climb down.
Where is my necrobike?
Of course.
I mean, it's like a baby.
I would probably say that it was probably kept under some kind of secure safekeeping that you might have hired. Essentially like a stables, but for
Sure.
generic possessions.
Instead of one of the
it's
hangers.
locked away. It's locked away, yeah, somewhere safe that you paid a pretty penny for.
That's the direction that Node really wants to go.
Which direction does Dune Ridge want to go? Like, where is this tunnel that we were going to go down before?
Seeing as you guys are literally a few 100 feet in the air, and this tunnel goes beneath the city of Malak, you'd have to go down and descend through the bowels and layers of Ronan's Overlook to get access to this tunnel that goes beneath the earth. It was a few layers deeper than even from when in you came to this place.
Can we stop by and get my bike on the way?
You can certainly try. A DM's favorite words.
That's what No's going to do.
And so No, you lead the way, going down the staircase, and you are happy, but almost like this is kind of a weird, like a shallow happiness. That the reason why the sounds are growing so loud is because of how they're echoing through this large, kind of like stairway. That this stairway itself seems to be uninhabited by nasty folk that wield weapons and violence. And you're able to descend, and so too can your companions follow along behind you, descending this way. And then you come across the marketplace, the main level, as it were, where you can see this just disgusting sight ahead of you. You can see the corpses cut apart. You can see just people, innocents, civilians, gunned down, their bodies butchered by bullets. As you see squadrons of these abnormally tall, cyborgly enhanced with necrotech Templar that wields the great kind of like hand sign, a symbol, a crest is what I'm trying to think of. The crest on one of their breastplates, the crest of Malik. And in front of them still is this long serpentine, almost like a centipede, though a centipede made of machinery, and it has the torso of what once was a man, though again fitted with immense amounts of necrotech. This seems to be the individual, at least leading these squadrons, as they have guns mounted and built into their shoulders, 2 chain swords they wield in each hand. Each arm is probably the length of a person, that cuts down, literally just ripping apart market stalls and people alike in just a great display of butchery, as these turrets literally mounted on their shoulders just gun things down. Fire is filling the air. Smoke is clogging your airways. And in this chaos, there are a few people fleeing, and they flee anywhere and everywhere they can before being cut down or gunned down. You can kind of see in the chaos 3 ways out of this marketplace, and you can remember them from your visit here. You can see from when they came, or what seems to be where these Templar are coming from, which is the way that would lead to the exit, or at least the entrance from that you guys came in through. There's one way that leads to the hangar, which is a bit lower in the ground, and probably would lead down to the tunnel in which Duneridge knows. And the other one is where the valet place would be, where your bike would be node, as well as all of the quartermaster and the arms dealer, and even the residential areas. So essentially, it's almost like a fork in the road.
So does it look like there could be a way to work our way around the outside of this marketplace to get to that other tunnel, that other passageway?
Yes, you'd perhaps be able to get at any one of these exit ways, though revealing yourself from your position would probably put you in the way of line of fire with these Templar and their Centurion leader.
So I don't see a path that we could avoid them.
You could try to perhaps sneak your way through, crouching and ducking and jumping between detritus and corpse to corpse.
How far away is the valet tunnel? That exit?
It is the longest journey of them all. It's at its quickest way would be 100 feet.
100 feet. Okay.
The way that is the exit in which you guys came from would be a little bit shorter than that at 90 feet, and then the way deeper into the overlook would be maybe about 60 feet away from you.
And the tunnel down to the valet, there's not like any kind of cross tunnels that would connect it to the ones that would lead deeper?
There would be, perhaps. There's a high likelihood that there is.
Okay.
As there seems to be many different tunnels branching and connecting all these various places. And the way I described them was almost like a really bird's eye view of this place, where actually, in actual fact, there's like many interconnected like bubbles of spaces that are all intertwined with each other. So yeah, there's definitely a way that you can get from where your bike is to the hangar, but it definitely wouldn't be the shortest way.
We just don't, as long as I don't think that it's a dead end, then to me that's still a viable choice.
Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe like we've come to the edge of this like marketplace and like crouched down behind like some, market wares or whatever that are kind of piled up as we see kind of like this mayhem unfolding in front of us. No's gonna turn and say, look, I've got to go after my bike. I'm not leaving it here. You don't have to follow me.
Is there room to ride it down the tunnel that we're going to take, or are you leaving us?
No, I'm going with you. I'm going to go see this done. But even if I can't ride it, I'm going to walk it. I'm not leaving it here for them to take. That's for damn sure.
You see across from you a person that's looking in your direction and going, and as they do this, their head is gunned down and their brains and blood splatter the side of the wall as they get shot flying from a spray of bullets.
I don't intend to die here, and I gotta go get this. I can sneak very well on my own. So if you don't want to come with me, it's perfectly fine, really.
Finn would put a hand on Node's shoulder. So you made me kill my Ainin because he was too slow and you couldn't carry him. But we're going after your bike, an inanimate object. Is that right?
It's different. It's different. And we are not going. I'm going.
It would seem the emotional response of your brainwaves would determine they are about the same. It would make most sense to go to where we need to go. And quickly. We haven't much time.
Finn is going to cast Emboldening Presence and also upcast it. So you guys, when you make an attack roll or a saving throw, you can roll a d6 and add that number. And your armor class also increases by 2.
As you cast your spell, Finn... Oh, I guess you can go ahead and finish your thought.
But that also puts me over my fade limit.
All right. There you go. Roll your fade, and then I'll get to what I was going to say.
1 second. I need to find the... I need to know what I need to roll. So that puts me over by... That puts me over by 4? Yeah. Where is the table? I think it's under
4,
spells.
Yeah.
I believe. Okay. All right. That's a D8 that I have to roll. It's an 8. I take 2d8 force damage.
So it's going to be 2d8 radiation damage.
Yes.
As all Astra damage in the setting as radiation damage. And as this surge of radioactive energy courses through you to bolster your allies, you can, those with keen hearing, actually, I'll have all four of you please make a perception check.
Oh, wait. So, sorry. I know that mantoids, I can't do that with mantoids, right? Will Doonridge get hurt if I target him? Because I can target 3.
So, I don't know if Finn knows that this would kill Doonridge because, I mean, I guess they were.
Pierce had a whole conversation about.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, he told you that the mantoids are basically allergic to Astra, and so this would count. Like you would probably kill him if you did this to him.
Okay, so he's gonna target himself and Andala and Node. And I also take 4. Okay.
Doonridge and Andala. You hear a quiet tick 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 sound, not of like a timer or a bomb, but almost as if like a Geiger counter kind of like going into its red zone as Finn casts this spell. And this muffled got him sound of a voice behind some thick mask as this huge gauntleted hand smashes through whatever cover you're hiding behind, and you see a single one of these, essentially imagine like a 40k space marine staring you down with this like essentially a mounted minigun they're holding. So he's fitted out with like these cyborg parts, and that's when our initiative roll gets into effect here. So we start off with Doonridge, as you had heard it first, the sound, and this person blows away your cover. What do you do?
Time has run out, and I am going to... Is there any like fixtures from the ceiling, like stuff that was hanging down that I could
lots of like lights.
Yeah, I want to. I can jump. I think that was like 15 feet, 30 feet, 15 feet. I don't think I can jump 30 feet vertically without a running start. So I want to jump and try and get into that.
Yeah, you could definitely jump up and dangle yourself from one of these hanging light fixtures. If you do this, however, you'd probably get like in clear notice of the dozens other Templar that are sweeping through this place. As you're just like literally up in the open. But so far, it seems like only one of these Templars has found you.
I am going to... Are we engaged with him? Would I need to disengage?
I'd say that he's out. You're outside of his reach, so you can move around freely for the time being. But you're probably like only 10 feet away from him at this point.
I know what I'll do. I'll use my Mind Spike feature and assault his mind. He needs to make a Wisdom save or take psychic damage on a failed save.
He got a total of 8.
Then
that's with save.
He has a like racking headache, and it's almost like the sound of cicadas and like mosquito wings in your ear. And he takes 14 points of damage.
All right.
And I'm going to use my movement to flee towards the door that leads to the tunnel that we need to take, not the hangar ballet place.
Yeah, and so your movement, I believe, is 40, right?
Yep.
Yep, so you're able to cover almost half the distance. Are you trying to move stealthily at this point, or are you just like running full buck at this?
I'm probably moving stealthily, and I probably won't go the full 40. I'll probably...
Yeah, you have to move at half speed. Stealthing.
Yeah. Do you want me to roll stealth?
Yeah, roll me a stealth check then. You have advantage, I believe, because of your chameleon camouflage.
Not that it'll matter. I got an 18 and a 16. with my stupid high stealth score. 24.
So Dune Ridge almost literally vanishes as the color of his carapace shifts to meet the colors of the surrounding areas, even matching the brightness of the licking flames that surround the area. And he's able to scuttle off about 20 feet towards the deep entrance, we'll call it.
I have not
No.
left you. Be calm. We must make haste towards the exit.
And Node, it is your turn.
Node, who was kind of crouched with his carbine kind of slung over his shoulder as they were in the middle of this conversation, whenever these boxes kind of scatter, and almost an instinct, he starts to lunge forward as the mantoid kind of reaches out with his mind and hits this guy. And he takes this opportunity, this lapse in this person's defenses, and his hand like pivots backwards to the point where like the tibia fibia, I think, of the radius and ulna, that's what it is, of his arm, this blade like slings out from between them and kind of locks into position as like an extension of his hand. I'm going to use my dagger that I have, and I'm going to unload on this guy. So does it qualify that he hasn't acted yet?
Yes, he has not technically acted yet this initiative.
Then because of Traverser, I have advantage on attacks versus people who have not acted yet. I don't imagine he'll also count as surprised since he found us.
Technically, he would be surprised. I believe that is that how that works? I actually don't have no idea how surprised works.
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth.
I believe that in the first round, everyone who hasn't acted yet is surprised.
Hey,
no,
that works
never
for
mind.
me.
Never mind. That's something else. No.
Okay.
Surprised is when one team doesn't notice the other one. So I guess you guys technically would be surprised.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's whoever gets the drop.
Yeah, so he got the drop on you guys. You guys are surprised, but by acting first, you remove the surprised condition from you when it's your turn.
Okay, so I will not qualify for takedown then. But my first stab at this guy is a 21.
Yeah, that'll hit. You'd be looking for a 16 on this guy.
Okay, so that's going to be 7 points of piercing.
Okay.
I have extra attack, so I'm going to take that as well. And that is another 21.
I guess that'll hit.
There's going to be a further 5 points.
Okay.
I also have Hunter's Instinct as one of my class features, which means that on my first turn, if I attack, I can make an additional attack during that turn.
Yep. All right.
So, yeah, I'm literally just like shake. That one is a 14. Probably
14
not.
won't miss.
Yeah, I figured with that armor.
Yeah.
Is he still standing?
He is still standing, but you've cut into his armor with this blade, and you can see not blood oozing from, I guess it would be like his leg or his thigh area, some other like green serum that would leak from underneath this armor, and has the unmistakable appearance of Astra that leaks literally from underneath his armor.
In that case, am going to burn Action Surge and give him 2 more stabs. I might as well use the advantage while I've got it. That's a crit.
All right.
How do you handle criticals?
RAW. Just roll the 2 damage dice.
All right, so that is 7 and 4 is 11 points of piercing.
And that is the kill. That is the attack that kills him. You can go ahead and describe how you're able to just undo this Templar.
So he takes this this guy's lapse in his defenses as Doonridge has kind of assaulted his mind, and then No just like launches himself onto this guy's armor. Like he's literally just like holding on to like the edge of his armor on the front, and got both of his feet like on this guy's thighs, like where they meet his groin, and he's just like stabbing this guy and rides him like all the way down to the ground. And then he takes a tumble off of him, and he is going to use his movement to head towards the garage.
Right.
He has 30-foot move, and I can move. When I'm alone, I can stealth at pace because of Hunter's Instinct.
Yeah. So you can roll me then a stealth check. Though I believe your new armor gives you disadvantage on that.
Oh, yes, it does. That's probably going to be it right there. Oh. That's only an 8 on stealth.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're not quite accustomed to the new sound and weight of your armor, and even the servos themselves, they end up locking up in a certain spot, and like you have to like kind of kick your leg to free it up, which unfortunately gets a lot of noise and attention as you kind of stand there like a sitting duck. So you're about 30 feet, however, from your position, which gives you 60 more to go before you're able to kind of break it for the hangar area. Oh, sorry, not the hangar. The bike area that you're at. Unfortunately, that just added a bunch of other Templar to the scene as they had found you. As they unleash their hail of bullets upon you, Node. 3 of them turn to fire. All right, that's going to be a 15, an 18, and a 21.
The 18 and the 21 will hit. Oh, actually, no, it will still, because I had the +2, but that makes it an 18. So the 18 and the 21 will hit.
Okay. You're going to take 21 points of ballistic damage from the spray of bullets.
Can I just I'd like to do a reaction, I think. Can I Twitch shield? Because I'd like to boost it in response to an attack that hits a willing creature. But is it gonna, I just have a question, I'm just reading that. Is it just gonna put the AC on me, or is it gonna, can I put it on the willing creature?
Well, let's see how Twitch shield is spelled out.
It says, in response to an attack that hits you, you can create a spectral shield. You gain +40 AC against the triggering attack. But then when you boost it, it could be in response to an attack that hits a willing creature.
Oh, you have to scroll down to the next page or complete the sentence.
Does it? Oh, good. Within 10 feet of you, you can choose to instead target that creature. So you moved out of my...
Unfortunately, you're not within 10 feet of
never mind. I tried.
But that does bring us to Finn.
Finn looks at Node. And just shakes his head. And he is going to... he's going to cough on Node for a moment. You see all of this blood and spittle just fly into his face. But he's going to be... And you can feel it, this blood also... It doesn't look like blood. It kind of has this green ichor also to it, glowing. And you feel this warmth from from where he coughed on you, and you're going to heal 2d6 plus spellcasting ability modifier, 2d6 plus 4, which is 13. One second. Sorry, I might want to retcon that a little bit if you'll allow it. That he wants to start running first. Kind of, he wants to start and then cough on Node.
In which direction are you running? Towards the
towards
deep way or the bike?
the bike way, which is towards the Templars.
Yes,
right?
and also alongside Node, yes.
Yep.
So run up to Node, off on him. Are you, I guess, you're not trying to be stealthy, are you?
No. He's running.
Okay.
And he actually, he wants to create a distraction. So he's not running towards the hangar, he wants to run towards the Templars. If that makes sense.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can put yourself right in the fray with that. To kind of put yourself between Node and the gunners.
Yeah, and he's just going to run, hoping to attract their attention, and that also puts him over his tier by another 2.
Should be a D10 roll, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 6. So yeah, that's a D10. So, the Astra deadens my reflexes, and the next attack against me has advantage.
So you find your bones and muscles stiffening up as even your breath is labored and you can't quite move anymore. You got an advantage against you. Oh boy.
Yeah. It says just the one attack. Next attack.
Yep.
Not attacks.
Undala. It is your turn.
Yeah, Andala has been a little slow because she sees Duneridge heading towards where we're supposed to go, and she sees Node heading to where she knows where the bikes are, and Finn then is like going that way too, and so she quickly just makes up her mind, and she is going to dash towards where the bikes are. So dash, I could do like 2 move, right? Like 2 movement.
Yep.
So that'll take me 60 feet, and then I'm going to void slip 40 more.
So that puts you directly in the passageway that leads further into the bowels of this place that would lead to Node's bike. If I did my math right.
Yes, because avoid slip is a bonus action, and so as she was running, she was taking out one of those like needle things, like those tubes that we've got, ripping off and jabbing herself with it, taking that radiation. That'll put me to my limit of Astra Fade with the boost. But as she heads halfway across the room, she just kind of disappears, and then you'll see her if you're looking in the doorway. That's my
Dune
turn.
Ridge. It is your turn. As all 3 of the humans have left your side.
So maintaining my camouflage, but not necessarily walking stealthily, I'm going to move towards Node.
Okay. So you're saying not breaking your stealth?
I'm not going to walk stealthily, but I'm still... no, I guess it doesn't work that way, does it? Do I have the ability? No. Yeah, I guess I'm going to maintain my stealth and move over.
20 feet.
Yeah.
All right, give me a stealth roll with advantage.
21.
All right, 31 is good enough.
21, not 31.
So
I
as you
mean,
move,
yeah.
do anything with your action?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so you're essentially within 5 or 10 feet of Node at this point, as you kind of caught up to him.
I've drawn my weapon, but I haven't done anything.
The Templar continued to rain fire down upon Node and Finn. Finn gets caught in this crossfire as his deadened reflexes kind of cause him to take a nice 20 to hit. This is going to be 7 points of damage to you from a spray of bullets that catch your side.
Okay.
And then 2 more bullets, or I guess 2 more raining of bullets come down. And so what's neat is that, so one completely misses both you and both Finn and Node. One of them would have hit Node if it weren't for Finn's presence, because the cover granted from Finn would hit Node. So does an 18, sorry, was it 17, sorry, hit you, Finn?
Mm-hmm.
So you can take this damage
Mm-hmm.
for another 11 points of damage.
Okay.
How is Finn looking?
Not
We'll find that out on your turn here. This is your turn.
not too hot, to be honest. Finn wants to stab himself with a mender, if possible, to use his action to do that.
Yep. So what you can do is you can roll a hit dice, add your con mod to it, and you're actually going to burn through that hit dice that you spend. It just lets you kind of like, have a short rest right here. Spending a hit dice, add your con mod to it.
Nice. All right. Whew. Okay.
And I end up missing Node's turn. So after your turn, Finn, we will go up to Node because I'm a bad game master.
So Finn is gonna look and see that Ondala is at the bikes.
Yes.
Is that the bike?
She has somehow just like slipped through with strange Astra magic.
All right. And with his bonus action, he's gonna activate his limit enhancer ability, and I think he would just do that by like spreading the blood on his face just everywhere, so he's just coated, and it kind of hardens, and this in the cracks, this green glowing flows like outside of, almost as though his skin was glowing green and covered over by this dried caked blood.
Not bad. What does limit enhancer do?
So I have advantage on any saving throws. When casting spells, I may use a single free boost that doesn't increase my Astra, and I have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage.
Awesome. So what was your action this turn?
To use the mender.
That's right. That's what it was.
Yep.
All right, good. All right, we go up to Node. We reverse time and go up to Node. That's all right.
I am 70 feet away from it still.
Yes.
Okay, then in that case, I'm just gonna dash. That'll put me 60 feet, so I'm still 10 feet shy. So close.
So you can see Ondala right there. Like if you reach out your hand, you just miss her hand by like a few inches. That brings us then to Andala.
So, how far away? Like you said, we're just in the entrance to the tunnel that leads to the bikes, or we're actually at the bikes.
In the entrance of the tunnel, and this tunnel shrinks in diameter significantly from this room, and effectively acts as like 3/4, even full cover from these Templar raining down bullets at you. And so it's almost like a safe haven at this point, just to keep running down this tunnel.
So how far away are the bikes from where we are now?
Oh, 200/300 feet or so.
Okay.
Making through alleyways and.
Andala's going to wait for Node then, because he's running towards her. She's kind of in that cover area, so she's going to wait and make sure that he makes it in. I would like to, I think, pull out. So when we got those weapon mods, did we get them actually? Were we able to put them on our weapons? Like, did they do that for us? Okay.
Yes, they would.
Okay, then she's going to pull out the dagger that she got that shield projection on, and I'm going to activate it. That'll be my action.
All right. That will bring us to the top with Dune Ridge.
Finn is still using his body as a shield, it would seem.
He would have used his action, or his movement to kind of move alongside Node while still in the way of the
Okay,
Templars.
so you are still like strafing then.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not leaving you behind. That's ideal. Is there? I'm gonna dash the rest of the way.
Yeah,
into
so
the tunnel.
from your position, if you dash, you can make it all the way to the stretch where Andala is.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
Because of
that.
your enhanced movement speed and like your nice little hypotenuse-ness.
I'm gonna make Node feel inferior.
This, however, would cause you to break your stealth and just like full-on sprint and leap and gallop.
That's fine.
All right, so you're able to use your turn just to fling yourself. Imagine even sometimes even like break or even crawl over bits of rubble and swing from things in a very fluid fashion, leaping off of things just to get there swiftly. As you also meet up with Andala, Dune Ridge. That brings us to Node.
So seeing that all of us are kind of moving together, he's not afraid that anybody's going to be left behind. He's going to move through this kind of tightened portion of the corridor. And as he comes out to the other side, he's immediately going to start looking for anything that looks like it might be volatile, like a fuel cell or anything along those lines.
Yeah, there's these lights that stretch alongside this corridor to give it like a nice kind of artificial illumination. You're not quite sure, but these possibly could be used like that. You know, they seem to be powered, and you could try something with them. Other than that, there's probably nothing.
Okay. In that case, he's going to look for something large, maybe. And he's going to basically get ready to kind of push it into the way once the last of us is through, to try to at least buy us a little bit of time.
Yeah, so there's going to be, like a crate or something in this corridor. You can hold your action to kind of like just close off the gap as Finn catches up. So you're now on the inside of this corridor. Yeah, the only one left out in the open now is Finn. And Finn, you're going to be taking another spray of gunshots.
How far away is Finn from where we are right now?
Like 20 feet.
Not 10?
No, Finn had dipped into like near the center of the place more to distract these uh, Templar. So his strafe, sorry, would leave him about 20 feet away. All right, so 2 machine guns come down upon you. Oh, I rolled low. An 8 to hit and a 15 to hit.
Neither of those hit.
All right. The third one there advances forward towards you, and like a little like chunk chunk of a lever, and then a flamethrower spits fire at you. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please.
But I do have advantage.
That is true.
Yes.
Is the bolster also on saving throws?
Yes, I believe so. So, just let me check. But I also have a limit enhancer, which gives me, yeah. So no, I get to roll an extra d6. So, do I get to roll that?
So what you'd roll is a d20, a d20, and a d6. Roll them all together, pick the highest d20, then add the d6 to that d20.
Right, okay.
Then add your modifiers and stuff.
Okay. That is going to be 21.
21 passes, and you're only caught by the very exteriors of this flame as you're going to like leap to the side. You're going to take 4 points of fire damage from just because you took half the damage instead of the full damage.
Good, because that would have killed me.
That brings us to you, Finn.
How far away is Node from Finn? 20 feet again?
He went a little bit in, so he's probably about 30 feet in, but you are 20 feet from the entranceway, which is where he's waiting to kind of like shove the crate into. So.
Okay, but just he can get there in a movement, so he can still do an action.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So Finn's gonna run, and as he's running, he is going to hit himself with a mender.
All right. You can use your action to mend yourself as you slip into the corridor.
Yep. Sweet.
And this would trigger Node just like pushing this crate. I need you to make a strength check, please, Node. As you realize that it's a bit heavier than you thought it was.
Wishing I had that Necrotech arm now. All right. Strength save, or not save, strength check. I don't have any strength-based skills, so I am going to spend the inspiration that I got earlier.
All right. Easy come, easy go.
Oh, God. I think it was worse. So that's a 9 total.
You're unable to budget, unfortunately, from a spot beyond a few inches. So that didn't quite work out in your favor. However, I will give you it's like the failure but a benefit. A failure with advantage, I guess. The things inside this crate seem to be heavier, and by the sounds of them, a lot more valuable than I thought they would be. As you hear like a metal kind of banging around in there.
Okay, so maybe as a use object. Well, I guess it would be. So that'll be another action.
And object interaction is a free thing you can do on your turn. If you want to pop the crate open.
Perfect. Yeah, he'll pop the crate open if you can grab whatever they are.
Simple latch, and inside you see is actually what seemed to be a bunch of half broken apart weaponry. It looked like even by the scrape marks and the trolley that's next to this, someone is in the midst of carting this from the weapon master up to the marketplace when the scene broke out. And so there are scraps and half pieces of guns and knives and other things, as well as a single explosive that you see in the bottom there. Though it is very much deactivated right now to stop it from exploding inside a crate.
Yeah, he's going to take all of that he can. And then
Just these big armfuls.
you said it's on like a dolly like type thing.
Yeah, but the dolly itself, the handle's like bent askew. From some like it looked like it like almost got like molten a little bit, but it still kind of would be serviceable.
No, if it's going to slow me down, I'm not gonna bother with it.
So essentially, all the gear inside here has the broken condition that's found in the Harbinger book, which means you can spend time in Glint to smack them together. But otherwise, we will go. That was the triggered action. So that means we go to Andala.
So Andala, seeing what Node was trying to do to blockade off, you were trying to blockade off the corridor, right? I'm going to use adhesion and pull to the crates together in that area.
Boom. Yep. What's the weight limit on adhesion?
There isn't a weight limit. I was looking at that. It is a size. One of them has to be size medium or smaller. And
This crate definitely would qualify that. And you can adhere it to the wall, perhaps.
Yeah, and they have to be like 10. Sorry?
Yeah. Like even like a chest height or something that's like just.
Yeah, and if yeah, medium or small. If I could do like two, like, so I'd want to have them, if I could like stagger them or so, whatever, so that the corridor is mostly blockaded off, so that they would have to.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine that this adhesion, you would adhere the actual wall itself to the crate, and then kind of like by like two magnets attracting. Sorry, the crate comes and smacks up to the wall. Like, just kind of like there's nasty like skid marks on the ground where it was like just dragged, and then it just sits there somewhat permanently.
Yeah, magic. Because I mean, I have to concentrate to keep it there, but if I can, I'm assuming they're going to be heavy enough that it's going to take them some time to move it, because that way I can stop concentrating. It'll stay there.
Yep. Yeah. If you stop concentrating, it'll still stay there, but no longer be like glued to it.
Yeah. And that is going to put me over my limit by 1.
Right. You got to roll. See how you mutate.
It's a D6, right? For the first one? I rolled a 5. Whatever that is.
They're on page 52.
Astra brings me to the floor. I am knocked prone. So as I do this, the backlash of this yellow Astra just kind of blows me back, and I land on the ground, probably right at the feet of Finn. And I'm staring up at him, bleeding, as he's bleeding all over me.
So you've blocked yourselves off for the moment, gaining a quiet, not a quiet moment, but at least a moment to act as you're not being actively pursued right now because of this blockade. We're going to go slightly out of initiative here as you sprint down this corridor, assumedly, to reach where No's bike is. And this place is what you used to see it as like this active hub of activity is now just obliterated. It had at one point a nice vantage point, this overlook to the outside, and now it's just this decimated crater. You can see that there's fragments of glass everywhere, and you can hear the sounds of marching footsteps, loud and heavy, leaving this place, and it goes down another corridor that descends down to a further large chamber from this place, leaving this place vacant of anybody but corpses. And in this place, there is that storage facility that you had rented out for your bike, and it's half obliterated, and its keeper is a corpse, a shamble, eviscerated and cut in half and bleeding out, and just this gory mess on the ground in front of the caged area where this is.
No's gonna go over to him and say, Well, I'm very sorry about this, but business is business. And he's going to start patting down, trying to find the key or whatever would open this like secured area.
And you find only one key. And this seems kind of peculiar because you can visibly see beyond this kind of like cage link area dozens upon dozens upon dozens of different cells to store stuff in. And then you see that one of his gloves, he wears gloves on his hands, but the thumb of one of his fingers has like the glove part kind of ripped off, and you even see like a little threadbare part of that one thumb, where the other, all of his other digits are covered by a glove.
Do I think that he might have some kind of necrotech? Like somehow his thumb might not be, like it might have like a key or something hidden in that thumb?
Yeah, you can give me an investigation or I guess a tech check
Okay.
to analyze this, or even a medicine if you, or whatever it's called in this rule system. To analyze this dude's thumb.
Okay.
Can we aid? Can we aid him?
If you wish to.
Oh God. So that's a 4 total.
Unfortunately, the DC was 10.
Yeah, so it's tough.
If it's some necrotech, it's some pretty good necrotech because you can't tell that it's there. But I mean, anyone who's worth their salt would have some kind of necrotech on them, so it's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if he suspects that there's anything even remotely linked to opening these cages with his hand, he will pop that blade back out again and just cut it off at the wrist.
And you cut off a nice spurting artery worth of blood and get this severed hand.
He's gonna go to the cage where he saw him put his bike, and he's gonna attempt to open it. He's gonna try the key, the one single key that the guy had first, and see if he can get that to work.
And this key opens up this main area that leads to kind of like a yard where these they're almost like not shipping crates, like I guess like train cars, but more fancy and technological than that, just stacked on each other in just this array of grids of stuff piled high. There's literally like 5 tall, and you can see like 50 wide. And you remember the designation that yours was, get a little receipt, Alpha 17. And you can see that each one of them are like labeled with a different combination of letters and numbers.
Is Alpha the lowest level or the highest?
And as you look around, you see that Alpha, unfortunately, is the highest. As it goes Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon.
Okay.
And so this would be about 40 feet in the air.
Is there some kind of device that they use to access that stuff, or is there like a walkway or an elevator?
You see no obvious walkway, but you can make me a perception check to kind of look around the area.
Oh boy. That's a 14.
You see it's half turned over by some explosion, but there's kind of like imagine a forklift, but instead of having wheels, it has like one giant conveyor belt on the bottom. Instead of like a forklift part, it has a seat where the person would be, and it could like lift and retract through the use of like levers. And so it's like manned by 2 people, one to drive it and one to be in the little cubby hole. And the cubby hole itself looks like it has like a little extendable pincers that could probably, I don't know, grab stuff or something. I'm not quite sure, but it's kind of like toppled over on its side at this point.
Damn it. He's gonna look at the others with almost like this pleading expression on his face, because he doesn't know if he can even write this thing and operate it. It's up in this one here. And he kind of like runs along the length to over to 17 and like points up to the top one. It's right there. I can see part of it.
You see, if that thing was alive, you could call it to come to you. But it's a bike.
It's not helping, Finn. This really not helping me right now. He's gonna start trying to climb the cage.
And as you begin to climb the cage, you hear a boom, boom, as the barricade that you set up is smashed through. And you hear the sounds of footsteps, loud, stomping, progressing down the tunnel that leads to this place.
Node, we have to go. It's going to be fine in that container. We'll come back for it. We've got to go.
You promise that you'll come back with me to recover it.
I promise.
So is it up in this... Sorry, I'm having a hard time visualizing. It's up in this container? Inside a cell?
Yeah. So you're in like a yard, like just imagine like just a courtyard, so to speak, and it's fenced off. You walked through the fence gate that was just a simple kind of like latch key, and around is like this 5x50, or 5 in height and 50 in length. This kind of wall of, imagine like shipping containers, but each one has like a little. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Yeah, like 5x50 shipping containers, and they're all like sealed off with a door, so you can't really see inside of them. But they have a huge like painted on label of like, alpha 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 all the way down, and then beta 1 2 3 whatever. So alpha is the topmost row, which is like 40 feet up in the air.
Finn is going to quickly look for some sort of lever or something to maybe they're on some sort of conveyor to bring it down.
You can give me a perception check to look around for some kind of mechanism like that.
Okay.
Yeah, while Finn's looking, I mean, Nandala would definitely be going up to Node and like saying, I promise, we'll come back for this. We gotta go.
You said perception?
Yeah.
21.
And so you see the same contraption that Node saw, the overturned forklift vehicle device that would have that's manned by two. One would drive it, another would like be in a little booth to get raised or lowered, and has like a little sense of like grabbing pincers to like do stuff with. But it's overturned on its side and would need to be righted and then also like operated to be of any use.
Yeah. Okay.
The footsteps grow louder.
Node kind of looks up where this thing is, just a few more feet away, and then turns and looks back down towards Andala. And Andala, you think you might actually see the equivalent of like whatever fluid Node exudes, like actually like gathered in the corner of like his yellow eye. And then he nods as he hears this kind of impending doom pressing in. All right then, we should go. And he'll drop down to the ground. Where do we go? He looks to Dune Ridge.
This way.
He follows.
So Dune Ridge leads you. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Megan.
Finn is just looking up at this container. And he is going to hold his hand up to it. And he's going to have this green just bolt suddenly explode from his hand at this container.
Okay, make me an attack roll, because it's a small target.
Okay.
From this perspective.
That is a 15.
15 will strike this Alpha 17. What happens when this bolt strikes something?
It just does damage. But he
Right, well,
he is hoping that it might do enough force damage to kind of blow open a hole in the side.
okay, roll me some damage.
He's going to upcast that as well because he can for free with his... Oh, sorry. Question. Is his limit enhancer still on?
What's the duration of it?
A minute.
It would have worn off by now.
Okay, so he's not going to upcast it. And that is going to do 7 points.
7? You're able to, like, the ionizing radiation that you expel would begin to burn a hole as molten metal kind of melts away from this, like, cavity that you're creating. You make perhaps like a fist-sized hole from this beam into the door of this of Alpha 17.
Finn is gonna try and grab the hand from Node. You guys go. I'll hold them off.
Andala would turn to you. The cube, then.
Finn would hand over the cube.
No, Finn, you're not staying behind to get this. No, I appreciate what you're doing, but we need to go.
Go. Then go. Run.
Finn, why?
Hidden motives.
Finn is just gonna nod to Dune Ridge and start climbing up this thing.
Andala will turn to Node and say, let him be. Let's go. And she would grab your arm and pull you after Dune Ridge.
And so Node, Andala, and Dune Ridge flee down the other passageway that leads away from this place. But Finn, you're saying you're trying to climb this ladder of, this mountain of shipping containers.
As quickly as he can.
Give me
Yes.
an athletics check.
Okay.
Give me an athletics check to climb it up.
Okay. That is going to be a 15. Because I have a -1.
unfortunately, there are no sizable handholds you can get. It's very smooth metal. There are like seams between each of these like crates, but they're like 9 or so feet in height. So if unless you were, let's say 10 feet tall, using them as your footholds, you can't really actually make your way up these bottom ones to even get any height. You just kind of like climb and jump and trying to hang on. Your fingers just can't hold your weight and you drop off again. So you don't take any damage from this. You just realize this is probably unclimbable from this vantage.
And he's gonna look at this forklift. It's definitely too big to like. It looks just giant, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else he sees that could help him?
Can't say there would be anything of that nature beyond the paraphernalia that might be littering this place. You might be able to stack it up to make some kind of pseudo ladder, but that would be precarious. It would take a lot of effort and a lot of time to be able to gather these things and stack them on each other, and it will only get you so high before you just can't continue stacking anymore.
Okay, Finn's gonna let out an annoyed sigh and start running after the group.
And so Finn joins up with the 4 of you. I guess with the 3 of you. And this tunnel descends a long ways. And it curls and it descends and it curls and it descends. And you come across the hangar, and you know it is the hangar for it's just a giant empty cave with nothing in it but stripes on the ground and obliterated and destroyed helicarriers and other flying vehicles that are just blown apart, shrapnel everywhere, smoke fills the air, it smells disgusting. There is nobody here, except for a single figure slumped against the far wall. There's a scorch mark that silhouettes him on the wall, as well as like his front is covered in this black as well. He is not moving. Another tunnel leads away. Actually, several tunnels lead away from this hangar room, but Doonridge is able to identify which one leads furthest down into the deep where you're trying to go. So you continue. And as you run past through this hangar area, I need all of you please to make a dexterity saving throw. So Dune Ridge, you're the only one that succeeds. No, I'm kidding. Finn, something grabs at your leg, and you realize it is this figure slumped against the wall that has grabbed your leg as you ran past. And 2 blue eyes look up at you. You realize that this is Dendrius. Though he's missing all of his bottom half, it has been blown apart. You can see the leaking servos and hydraulics and bits of interior machinery peeking out. Take me with you, Dendrius would buzz with his dying voice.
Finn would grab him. If he's, like, free to grab.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finn would grab him.
And see, he'd essentially be, like, holding some strange parcel, I guess, or like a backpack. He's kind of just hold him, because he has no bottom half. He's just like a torso with arms.
Yeah, so Finn is gonna, like, put him on his back and just hold his arms over his shoulders.
And you can even feel... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, can we see his bottom half anywhere in the hangar?
can't. But you do, however, see that there is the same trail of like grease that is leaking from his torso that actually forms like a kind of like a streak. It looks like he's crawled on only his hands for like several hundred feet from various corridors to finally come to this resting spot. And by the way his eyes flicker and his voice modulator buzzes in and out, and the voice is distorted, it seems like he is very low on power and is in his death throes. Thank you. He would buzz out one last time as you finally descend.
Is there a way to stop his fluids from leaking out?
Yeah, absolutely. You can like just tuck up the tube and affix it with something simple.
Just turn off the valve.
Yeah, just... And as you flee this burning refuge in these deep tunnels beneath the earth, putting all of this wreckage behind you, with nothing but a robot corpse on your back for your efforts, that's where we're ending our session.
I was just going to say, at one point while we were running away, Andala would have run up to Finn and actually given him a big hug. And she would have whispered in his ear, "Don't ever do that again."
And for once, Finn would be silent. And not as gross as he can be. He doesn't look at you. You feel that his shoulders are just kind of collapsed, but he runs along with you.
With that, the session is over. And everyone can have a good night. Thank you, all my players, for being wonderful players. And we'll see you next time.